Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. For today's card, I'm going to be using this ice cream layering set from Hero Arts. I love this set. I think it's so fun. I'm going to be using my Misty tool for all of the stamping, and I'm going to start out by stamping all of the cone first pieces because there's two pieces for the cone. There's for the first layer of the cone and there's the second layer. And I'm starting out by stamping all of the first layers. I'm going to be stamping 3 on one page and 2 on another, and I'm using frayed burlap Distress Oxide ink to stamp that. Once I have all of those stamped, I'm going to move on to the second layer of the cone. And for this layer, I'm going to be using Walnut Stain Distress Oxide ink. You might notice, I don't know if you'll be able to, but for some of these cones, that second layer I didn't get stamped on completely straight. It's very slightly off, but I don't see that as a big deal. I'm just going to say that I meant to do it like that. By the way, the paper that I'm stamping on is Bristol Smooth paper. Now I'm going to move on to the ice cream section of the cone. And for each ice cream part, there are 2 layers. For this first one, I'm going to stamp it in Worn Lipstick. And then I'm going to move on to the middle cone there, and that one I'm going to stamp in Fossilized Amber. And then for the very last one on this page, I'm going to be using Broken China. I'm just getting all of the first layers of ice cream done on each of the cones, and then I'll come back with the second layer stamp and do those for each one of them. Once this page with the 3 cones is done, I'm going to get that page that has 2 cones on it and stamp those ones. And for the first one here, I'm going to stamp it using my Spiced Marmalade Distress Oxide ink. You might be wondering why I have 2 pages here of cones. So the first page with the 3 on them, that's going to be my main part of my card. And then this other one, I'm actually going to cut the 2 cones out of and put it on the other page. For this last ice cream cone, I'm using Cracked Pistachio. So once I get all of these ice cream cones together, they're going to kind of create an ice cream rainbow. Okay, so now I'm moving on to the second layer of the ice cream. So for the first pink ice cream, I'm using Picked Raspberry for the second layer. And for the yellow ice cream, I'm using Spiced Marmalade for the second layer. For the blue one, I'm going to use Salty Ocean for the second layer. I love the way these start to look once you get the layers together. It actually really made me want to get ice cream. For this orange cone, I used Picked Raspberry for the second layer. I really like the way that pink and orange look together, so that's why I did that. And for the green cone, I used Evergreen Bough for the second layer. For these 2 cones that I'm going to be cutting out, I decided I wanted to add some toppings. So for this first cone, I added this cute little cherry. And then for the green cone, there's a chocolate chip stamp in the set. And I used the Walnut Stain ink and put a few chocolate chips in the ice cream, and it kind of looks like mint chocolate chip ice cream now. It's kind of perfect because this card is for my husband, and he loves mint chocolate chip ice cream, and my favorite topping on ice cream is maraschino cherries. I took my white gel pen and I added some highlights all along the ice cream and a little highlight on the cherry as well. I also pulled out one of my Arteza markers to add a little shading to that cherry, just to give it a little bit more dimension and make it a little more realistic. I fussy cut both of these cones out, and then the other page with the 3 cones on it, I trimmed down to the size that I wanted. After I trimmed that piece, I used my ATG gun to glue it to a piece of black paper because I wanted a small border around this in black. So I glued that piece down, and then I'm going to use my trimmer to cut the black paper down, just leaving a very small border around the edge. Next, I took the 2 cones that I fussy cut out, and I used some foam tape to pop those up onto this panel. So now you'll start to see that ice cream rainbow that I was talking about before. Once I got these 2 cones popped up onto the panel, I actually took the entire panel and popped it up onto a card base. But sadly, I didn't manage to get that on camera somehow. I think I forgot to hit the record button. but I did use some fun foam to pop up that panel onto a card base. Next, I'm going to work on my sentiment. For the sentiment for this card, I used a stamp from the same exact stamp set as the ice cream, and this one says, "I melt for you." And I'm going to be heat embossing that on some black paper using some white embossing powder. I prepped this paper using my powder tool, and then I stamped this sentiment using some Versamark ink. The embossing powder that I used is a Ranger Superfine White embossing powder. I cut this down into a strip, and then I took my scissors to cut the ends. And I don't know if you'll notice, but when I first cut the ends, I cut them at an angle, but then I decided I didn't want them to be like that, so I do end up just cutting them straight in the end. The way that I'm placing this sentiment, it's going to go over the green cone a little bit. So I put foam tape on the ends of the sentiment strip, and then I put a little Tombow glue over the area that's going to be on the cone. And then I placed that onto my card. For the finishing touches on this card, I went over all of the black border and the sentiment with my Wink of Stella, and then I went over all of the ice cream. And then I'm going to take my glossy accents and I'm going to go over the cherry and all of the little chocolate chips. Now it does take a little while for the glossy accents to dry, but once it does, that cherry and those little chocolate chips are just going to look so cute. And then this card is all done. I had so much fun making this card. I love the little ice cream cones. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this ice cream card. All of the supplies used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching, please be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Wednesday. Again, thank you for watching and I hope you have an amazing day.